Welcome back to Wilson Book Reads, and thank you again for joining in on another long form video. Yeah, I've been focusing on the shorts lately. It's a bit easier to get some shorts out. It's much more easier for me to just, film something that's like, just one single idea or whatever idea I have and just kind of film it and then just put it out there. It's a bit easy because I can do it with my phone as well. Today I thought we would try something a bit different. I was inspired by another YouTuber. I can't get the name off the top of my head at the moment, so I do apologize. I might throw his tag down in the video below. He inspired me with his top 10 favorite books of all time video, and I really enjoyed that video, and I was like, wow, I should probably do that because I love to share books that I'm reading or books that I love. And I thought this would be a good one to start. So yeah, I'm gonna show you my top 10 favorite books. These tend to change from time to time. Some books fall out of rotation, as in I find something I liked more, or I find something I liked a bit more than the one that was in there previously, or just that there's just certain things I feel like, oh, maybe that doesn't need to be in top 10, or maybe that's just for a different kind of list, or honorable mentions kind of list. But nonetheless, I'm going to give you my top 10 favorite books of all time. Sorry, don't know if you can see my hands. Yeah, it's hard when I'm filming it and I can see myself a little bit with my camera. My first book that I'm going to talk about is, as you know, it doesn't have a title, but it does have a little title on the bottom. So if the camera focuses, sorry. It is The BFG by Roald Dahl. This was a book I read so many times as a kid. I love this book. I love the story. Love the story about just Sophie being taken from her home and to live with this strange giant who eats snozzcumbers and drinks frobscottle. And yeah, just the fact that there is more giants in the area and they eat people and it's a bit scary. And then the fact that he's a dream giant, he just goes out and blows dreams into people's houses and all that. It's a really cool story like that. I really enjoyed it as just a solid book. I've read it so many times and I just can't stop wanting to reread it all the time. It is just one of my favorite books. I can't say that I wouldn't put this anywhere less than 10. But yeah, it is definitely up there as one of my favorite books. So the next book I'm going to talk about is Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. Now, I know that I might have said previously that Jurassic Park is my favorite movie of all time, and I would easily say that the book is just up there too in my top 10 favorite books of reading. And it's not really biased, it's just an enjoyment. I recently listened to this on audiobook and I really enjoyed it again as just another, I think it was the third or fourth time I've read it, and I just really love the book. It was a great book to get into. It is one of those ones that I just love the story, I love the characters. Just some of the most intense scenes that you see, like when, the T-Rex is, trying to get them in the car. That's so intense. And there's just many other intense things that you don't get to see in the movie that you think, oh man, I wish they put that in the movie. It would have made it way more epic. But I guess that with run times and stuff like that back then, it was harder to shoot certain things, and they were limited what they could do, so they made the best with what they had. And mind you, the movie is still fantastic. It holds up magnificent in this day and age. But yeah, like I said, it's up there. I love it so much. It's such an easy read. I found that The Lost World was probably a little bit less easier to read because it's a bit more scientific, and it's a bit slower. But otherwise, there's this second part of that book that I absolutely love in Lost World. But yeah, Jurassic Park, feel free to check it out. My next favorite book on my list, Broken Glass by Adrian Sterling. Now, this is an interesting story. I really like this book because when I was growing up as a teenager, I would go to the bookstore fairly often, about every month or so, on a Friday or a Thursday with my mum, and I'd have some pocket money and I'd always go buy a book. And back then books were much cheaper. So yeah, back then I was reading Lucky Leonard by Tim Winton and all these other young adult books that I might do a list later on and just give you my thoughts on those books and what I liked about them and what I don't like about them. But yeah, this would easily be up there as one of my favorites. The story is about a young boy who's grown up now in the town of Broken Glass. It's a very just country town, very desolate, and bit like kind of very just a small rural town in Australia. The main character Danny is struggling to fit in with the town people after just some years of him being younger and hanging out with his friend Niall. So there was some trouble that happened in the book. I won't really get into it unless you're interested in reading it, and that meant he had to kind of feel like he had owed something back to the community in a way, and he's just trying to find a sense of belonging in his community and a sense of belonging in his own life journey, and he struggles with that a bit in this book. And it's just one of those reads I really enjoy. The characters are great. It's very rough going for him, and the story, you feel sorry for Danny. You feel like he's just trapped in this world, this town, and he can't get out. And yeah, but like I said, easy read. Highly recommend it if you like young adult novels. This was one of my favorite ones. I reread it last year or the year before, and again, still love it. Next book on my list, The Green Mile by Stephen King. Yes, this is got Tom Hanks' face on it. You can see it. I love Stephen King novels. I've talked about them before on this channel. I just love Stephen King's books in general. But I've got to say The Green Mile is one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite stories of his. It's not a horror one, but it goes into that supernatural kind of fantasy feel of it, just some of the themes in it. But it's just a great story told. And the character of John Coffey, you feel just ultimately sorry for him. You feel he's a guy that is perceived to be this monster to this guy who's just so gentle. He treats the world so gently, and he treats people with kindness, and the way he just looks at people, he sees the good in everyone. But you just think, why did it have to be him in this bit of predicament of being on, being ready to be executed at some point? You just think the world's not fair sometimes when it does this, and unfortunately, in our real world, this does happen. There are some good people that get put to death, and they haven't really done anything horrible, and it's just sometimes it's our justice system. But again, I don't want to get into political and all that, but I'm just sharing my opinion. But like I said, I love this book. It's one of the few books in my opinion that has actually made me cry reading it, because I loved it so much. Easily recommend it. It's one of my favorites up there. So my next favorite book would be, and mind you, first of all, I just want to say none of these books are in any particular order, so you don't have to be like, oh well, he put this one first and the other one's no. I will tell you what is my favorite book though, but I'll probably leave that to last. But one of my next favorite books is, don't know if you can see that, Star Wars Darth Plagueis. This is an incredible Star Wars story. If you love Star Wars books, your novels and all that, this is one I highly recommend. It talks about Palpatine's master, Darth Plagueis, his time becoming a Sith Lord, and talks about him finding Palpatine, the underworld of the dark side, that he's got this business, and how he manipulates the world around him to kind of be in his favor. And it's just a fantastic read. If you don't want to read it as a book, I recommend it as an audiobook as well. The audiobook is just as extremely good on Audible. Yeah, I love it. It is fantastic in my opinion. It's one of those ones where you just get immersed into the Star Wars universe, and it's easy. I'm not a huge sci-fi guy, but Star Wars is definitely up there for me, and I love this book. It is just easy, good read. It's a very fantastic, just easy book to get into. There's not anything I would say that is really bad about it. The pacing is great. You feel like a lot of time has passed, but you don't feel like you're lost in the story. You feel like you're still caught up with everything. My next favorite book is Under the Shallows by Favour Parrot. This is an interesting one. I read this many years ago. I found it in just a random place that was selling a couple of second-hand items, and this was one of the books that was being sold. And I decided to read it, and I started reading it, and I was really hooked on it. And it's just a very sad tale of a family struggling to survive in this town. This father who owns an abalone trawler, or abalone boat I should say. He's struggling to make ends meet. His two other sons are just, trying to help him, and they just are constantly abused and just berated. And the youngest son is kind of, he's in that part of like he's being looked after by all these other people and family members, and he relies on a close neighbor for some friendship. And it's just one of those sad stories. It is really one of those touching stories I really enjoyed. It was actually quite hard to put this on the list because I wasn't 100% certain if this was on the top 10 for me personally, but at the moment I would say it is because I just love this book so much. Yeah, I would highly recommend it. It's a very short read. It's about roughly like 280 something pages, but it's a really easy read. Just a beautiful story, but it's also very sad and sombering story as well. The next book on my list is an interesting one. I wouldn't highly recommend this story to everyone, but to me, I just got drawn into the story. So that is Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov, I think. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry if that's butchering it. But Lolita was one of those stories I was interested in reading, but I was kind of taken aback about just the some of the themes in the story, like the fact that he's much older than her, and she's quite young, and it just felt too predatory to me. But as I was reading it, I was kind of understanding why there's a few people who love this story. It is mainly just some of the words and the literature is written, the way he describes Lolita. It is just the beautiful words that he uses to describe her, and just some of the ways he treats her as like a, pretty much as a goddess in a way. But at the same time, when you go back to reality a bit, and when you're looking at the story, you go, she's 12 or 13 years old, and this is a man who's in his 40s, and you just feel a bit like it's disturbing, like in that way. But at the same time, I wouldn't highly say it's a bad, like, what I mean by that is, I mean that between that story is like the way he describes it, it's like you could almost see like this being a beautiful romance story if it wasn't the fact that, like, the age gap is so massive and it just feels so predatory. But like I said, the story itself is beautiful. It's just one of those stories I've been drawn to, and I wanted to keep reading it. When I read it, it's one of those ones I kind of feel like, do I have it on the top 10? It's not, like, I like it, and it is one of my favorite books, but I wouldn't say, I might even not say it's like a top 10, but it was one of those ones I feel like it would be up there. Like there was choosing between a couple of other ones, like Moonraker by Ian Fleming, and this couple other ones. I was kind of like, I feel like I like this Lolita more, just for a variety of other reasons. But yeah, anyway, that's what I wanted to leave it at that. Like I said, if you haven't read it, I recommend it. It's really good as a first time read. It's just an interesting story. I feel like I'm not even serving it justice by just talking about it. I'm not describing it well enough to really serve its real potential. The next book on the list is, now, first of all, The Islands in the Stream by Ernest Hemingway is not my favorite book. I haven't actually read this one, but I wanted to find a book to kind of use as an author. So one of my favorite books is The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. I picked this just so it gives you a reference of who I'm talking about. The Old Man and the Sea is just a fantastic story of just a man trying to catch a massive fish, and just the way the words he uses, and just the ongoing battle. The fact that this takes several days for him to catch this massive fish, and after he's caught it, he feels ultimately very sorry for it, and just the things after that happen in the process of catching this fish, the amount of sacrifice he had to make, and the amount of things he spent to just catch this one big giant animal. And like, you just feel like just enthralled by the story, just the whole point of him, while he's catching this fish, he's trying to catch all these other fish to eat as sustenance. And it's just a book about survival, and it's just a book about manhood, of like how he just could not give up. He would not give up. He was like, said, that I'm going to catch this fish or I'm going to die trying, essentially. And it's just one of those beautiful stories, in my opinion. I read it several times. I love the book. I own it. I'm still trying to... I'm actually very picky because I love it so much. I want a very nice copy of it. So I don't want to waste my time and buy, like, say, like a cheap copy. I would like to find like an older copy that is kind of like been used and treat it that way, like even a hardback cover one. Because books I get as a hardback means I really like them. My next favorite book is a massive book. It is one of those books that you will just... everyone will either think it's either overrated or they love it. Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. Sorry, I nearly thought I said G.R.R. Martin. This is one of those beautiful, adventurous books. I loved it. It took me a whole year to read for the very first time because it's just such a massive book and I wanted to take my time. It is one of those books that I just love from the start to the finish. I love this book so much. I love the movies as well, don't get me wrong. But the book itself is just, it's so adventurous. There's so many beautiful things in the book that you can read about. The fact that it just takes you on a journey. You feel like you've been on this massive journey with everyone, and the things they go through, like the battles, the struggles of trying to climb this mountain away from orcs and away from danger. You just know that it is just one of those beautiful books. I loved it from the start to the finish. I love the characters. It is definitely one of those books I would highly recommend to people to read for the very first time if you have never read it. But at the same time, if you're not interested in that at that point, that's okay. But at some point I might recommend. It is one of those ones you have to just give a go for the very first time. Anyway, there's one I'll highly recommend. Alright, so we come to the end, my friends. My final book of my top 10 list. Breath by Tim Winton. Easily one of my favorite books of all time. I've read this book over 10 times, probably more. I remember getting this book back in, I think it was 2008 or 2009 when it was released. I love Tim Winton's writing. Tim Winton is a genius. He is just an interesting writer. He doesn't write like most authors, like Michael Crichton, Tolkien, George R.R. Martin, Stephen King, all these great writers. He has his own style, and it shows it. Like, some of his characters are a bit out there, and you may go, oh, I don't really like his characters, or I don't really like his writing, but it is one of those beautiful stories. It's about a young boy named Pikelet, who goes out and is with his friend Looney, and they are trying to push the limits of their adrenaline rushes and trying to just push each other to do more dangerous things. So they catch these massive waves at all these different places around Angeles, I think it is. Angeles? Yeah. And they meet up with a man, Sando, who pretty much just trains them to become these young upcomer adrenaline-seeking surfers, and they catch these massive, crazy-looking waves, and they just go out of their way to try and find these massive big waves, and they go through a whole journey together. There's so many different things that happen in it. It's not like I wouldn't recommend it's a book for everyone. I would highly recommend it for any I guess I don't want to be gender specific, but I would highly recommend it to young adults, even men, older men who might be interested in this story. If you surf, you'll love it for that aspect of it. There are some weird spots in it where some people don't like the story because it gets into a bit of a sexual nature with some characters. I won't say who specifically, but there are some moments there that just it gets into a different world and different territory. But it's just about whole drawing breath and just being on the edge of life and just pushing yourself to the limit, and the journey that you go through during your teenagehood, especially as a man. Just so there's things that you might have encountered when you were like that. But yeah, it is easily one of my favorite books of all time. I highly recommend it. I've had this copy ever since. I went to the bookstore, I bought it, and that's my copy. It's my favourite book. It is one of the books I would take if my house caught on fire today. This is the first one I'm taking with me. But that is it for this video. I hope you liked this video. I know this might be a bit longer, but yeah, I really enjoyed doing this. If you did like this video, please hit a like on the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you like my content. If you want to see more specific content, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. Feel free to let me know what your top 10 favorite books are. I'd love to know and interact with what everyone who tells me what their favorite books are. Like, it's just one of those things that I think we can all enjoy as a, you know, community of book readers. And, you know, yeah, and I'll hope to bring some more books soon. I have a small review of the new Hunger Games book I want to bring out, so feel free to stay for that. But yeah, I hope to talk to you soon about it. Take care. Bye bye.